Hey viewers, a new study at the University of Wisconsin shows that too much television, low self-esteem, disappointing grades, poor family relationships can be a formula that add up to early teenage sex and substance abuse. Now, you might be wondering why that's important. It all relates back to this idea of toxic relationships. Bad relationships that people get into and it hurts them and it deprives them of life, joy, peace in their own lives and with their relationships with other people. So we're going to talk today about toxic relationships and helping teens avoid toxic relationships. We're calling this one biohazard. Now, a biohazard is an organism or a substance of an organism that is fatal, creates toxins within the healthy host. And speaking of toxins, toxins are either poisonous, carcinogenic, and they're harmful to life. Relationships is a connection to another person, and especially an emotional connection. So when you bring this idea of toxic, of biohazard, and you bring them into this notion of a relationship, what we're saying is that this is a poisonous, carcinogenic relationship that is harmful to the person who is in that relationship. Got some statistics here for you. 7% of teens say that they've attempted suicide or even thought about suicide, and that was in 2001. 35% of teens say that they're sexually active. In a study called the Media Project, 71% of teens who don't feel close to their mom and dad have sex by the ages of 17 to 19, compared to 58% of teens who feel close to mom or dad. Clearly, mom, dad, you guys are important in this. And the studies have shown that the students who have relationships with you, good relationships with you, are less likely to be actively pursuing sexual relationships. 25% of teens play video games or use a computer for more than 3 hours a day, which is insane because, again, it takes them away from relationships. What are you doing for 3 to 4 hours a day sitting in front of a screen? Wait a second, that's what I do, talking to you from a screen. That aside, we've got students that are lacking relationships because they're stuck in this isolated sense of self, isolated sense of being, instead of out there communicating with people their own age. Social networking, wonderful tool, but when it overtakes a person's life, it becomes that screen again that is their only real relationship. How do we deal with this? We've got the world's sense of relationships where it's essentially love, lust, intertwined. Sex and love are equal. Relationships are dependent on whether or not you feel happy. It's all subjective. There's no real truth behind it. So then when we look at relationships and we consider what does it mean to be in relationship with people, we have to look at what is true. What is true? Is it true that God is love? Yes. God is love. But is it also true that we are people who are designed to express that love? Yes. And what we need to understand is that our relationships are a very, very personal thing. Romans chapter 12, verses 1 and 2 says this, "And so, dear brothers and sisters, I plead with you, give your bodies to God as holy sacrifices because all He has done for you. Let them be a holy and living sacrifice, the kind that He will find acceptable. This is truly the way to worship Him. Do not copy the patterns and behaviors of this world anymore, but let God transform you into a new person by changing the way you think. Then you will learn what God's good, perfect, and pleasing will really is." So clearly the idea of living your life as your daily act of worship, sacrificing your life as your daily act of worship, God is concerned about every aspect of who we are. Is He concerned about the way I drive? Yes. Is He concerned about the way I talk to my parents? Absolutely. Is He concerned about the way I talk to my kids? Absolutely. God is concerned about every aspect of who you are, socially, physically, mentally, spiritually. Ladies and gentlemen, He is not just a spiritual God. He's concerned about every aspect of who you are. So when we talk about relationships and forming them the way that God would have them be formed, we need to look at 3 basic areas. We need to love God, we need to love ourselves, and we need to love others. And that's the design. Loving God, we need to submit to His plan. What does God want from me? Does God want me to dye my hair, pick my nose? No, God does not want you to pick your nose. Does God want me to be kind to people? Yes. Does He want me to go to missions in Africa? Possibly. I don't know. What is wrong with Africa? I'm not sure how I feel about the bugs in Africa, but Africa is a place that needs God too. Seek His face. It says that if you seek, you will find. And it's the idea of a journey, this idea of this unrelenting passion to find the face of God. God, where are you? Peekaboo. Meditate on His wonders and His goodness. And this is talked about from 1 Chronicles. Meditate on His wonders and His goodness. One of the incredible things that God has done. You know, biggest Bible mess that has got me curious is who cleaned up the mess on the ark? Pillars of smoke guiding people. Fireballs from heaven. God, here to save the day and show that God is the number one over Baal. Crazy things. Meditate on his wonders and goodness and the kinds of things that he's already done in your life. Learning to love God. And we speak in journey language. Learning. I don't love God. I'm learning to love God deeper and deeper and deeper. Learning to love self. Very critical. It's things that we need to understand in our lives. Is that right back in the beginning, the book of Genesis, right at the start, once upon a time. Well, this is the time that we were told that we're created in the image of God. Created in the image of God. It's almost as God puts up a mirror and he says, hey, hello, how are you doing? Created in the image of God means that you are not a mistake. You need to love that about yourself. You are not a mistake. You're in the image of God, and that means that there are incredible things about who you are. As a youth worker, as a parent, and as a team, you are an image bearer. You are an ambassador, and there are some wonderful things about you. You are not a mistake. God has intended you to be incredible. You are unique in who you are. It also tells us elsewhere in Scripture where he fashioned you together in your mother's womb, and it's this picture. It's an incredible picture. You ever see the old lady in the old folks' home? She's knitting her little thing. One knit, two curl. One knit, two curl. She's knitting her scarf or toque or whatever it is she's knitting for you. Absolutely incredible, because she sits there and she's focused. Nothing moves. She's focused, 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 focused. Going faster and faster, and she's getting the job done, and it's painstaking and it's incredible. That's how God designed you. That's the language that's used. His hands at work in your life. Learning to love others. Love others as you love yourself. How do you love yourself? You desire great things for yourself. Desire great things for others. Serve them. Move in a direction that lifts them up and builds them up in ways that they couldn't possibly express. God has designed us for good things and for good relationships. And when we talk about how do we model these things, how do we deal with this on a relational level, intentional modeling and teaching. Questions that we need to ask. What are we doing personally in our lives, in our ministries, to show healthy relationships are important? Healthy relationships. And healthy relationships. Healthy relationship. Do I love you? Love my wife. What is the place, or what spaces are we providing?
It's the final frontier.
For teens to be able to experience new relationships in deeper ways. And do our ministries reflect God's love and passion for the entire person? Are we concerned about the whole person in our relationships? Very key questions we need to ask in our ministries. That's it for me for now. I hope you stay tuned for another episode, and I look forward to hearing from your responses.